You get nothing.
Vivian Kessler, 61, said those words with a smile. Silver hair. Perfect cut, not a strand out of place. She stood at the front of the conference room. Black dress, pearl earrings, the grieving widow. Nora Briggs sat frozen, 52 years old, her father's only daughter. The will was one page, one line that mattered. To my daughter Nora, $0. Vivian's smile widened. Sweetheart, he made his choice. The room stayed quiet. Neighbors looked away. Family friends studied their shoes. 20 years of silence. Now this. Nora's hands shook. She reached for her bag. Then Malcolm Reed spoke. The executor, 58. Gray suit, cold eyes behind wire frames. The reading is complete. He paused. But the will is not the end. Vivian's smile flickered. Nora stopped. If her father truly erased her, why would his lawyer say that?
Before we begin, if you could tap subscribe and like, it would mean so much to me. And if you don't mind, please leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from. May health and happiness find their way to you right where you are. All right then, let's begin today's story.
Chapter 2. One line in the margin. The conference room emptied. Chairs scraped against tile. Footsteps faded down the hall. Nora didn't move. Vivian gathered her purse. Slow. Deliberate. She paused at the door. Don't make this ugly, sweetheart. Her voice was honey. He's gone. Accept it. The door clicked shut. Nora sat alone. The fluorescent lights hummed above her. Malcolm Reed remained at the table. He opened a folder. Pages rustled. Ms. Briggs. She looked up. The will states $0. He adjusted his glasses. But there's an addendum. Nora's breath caught. A what? A separate page. Filed the same day. He slid a document across the table. Most people don't read past the first page. She pulled it closer. Legal jargon. Dense paragraphs. Then, one line. Handwritten in the margin. Briggs Collection. County Library Archives. Restricted until death. Her father's handwriting. She'd recognize it anywhere. What is this? Malcolm stood, gathered his briefcase. That's not for me to say. His voice stayed flat. But if I were you, I'd visit the county library soon. He walked to the door, stopped. One more thing. He didn't turn around. Mr. Kessler was notified of this addendum 20 years ago. The door closed behind him. Nora stared at the paper. 20 years. Vivian had known. All this time, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Touch that archive and I'll bury you in court. V. Nora's jaw tightened. What was in that library that Vivian wanted hidden? Chapter 3. Archive Rules. The county library sat at the edge of town. Red brick, faded letters above the entrance. Nora pushed through the glass doors. The smell hit her first. Old paper, dust, time. A woman looked up from the front desk. Thick glasses. Gray cardigan. Name tag. Tessa Marlowe. Archives. Can I help you? I'm looking for the archives. Nora's voice cracked. She cleared her throat. The basement level. Tessa studied her. Most people want bestsellers, not basements. My father left something there. Harold Briggs. Something flickered in Tessa's eyes. Recognition. Then, it vanished. The Briggs collection. Tessa's voice dropped. Restricted access. Restricted how? Death certificate of the depositor, plus written notification from the estate executor. Tessa pulled out a form. Do you have both? Nora had the death certificate, fresh from the funeral home. But notification? The executor mentioned an addendum. Nora said, doesn't that count? An addendum is not a notification. Tessa's tone was final. Archive rules. Nora's hands curled into fists. My father is dead. I'm his daughter. And you're telling me I can't see his things? Tessa didn't blink. I'm telling you there's a process. Follow it. Nora wanted to scream. Instead, she took a breath. Okay. She pulled out her phone. Can I at least know what's in the collection? A description. Tessa hesitated. Then she typed something into her computer. One acid-free archive box. Deposited 23 years ago. She read from the screen. Label reads, Briggs Collection, restricted until death. That's it? That's all I can tell you. Tessa looked up. Without proper notification, Nora turned to leave, then stopped. Who has to send the notification? Tessa's fingers paused on the keyboard. The designated recipient. listed in the deposit agreement. And who is that? A long pause. Vivian Kessler. Nora drove to her father's house, the house that was never hers. Vivian's car wasn't in the driveway. Good. She still had a key. Her father had mailed it to her 15 years ago. No note. Just the key in an envelope. She'd never used it. Until now. The door creaked open. The house smelled like lemon cleaner and old wood. Nora moved fast. Her father's study was down the hall. Books lined the walls. Dust covered the desk. Vivian hadn't touched this room. Nora opened drawers, files, tax returns, medical records. Nothing about the library. She checked the closet. Boxes stacked to the ceiling. One box was different. Older, taped shut with yellowed tape. She pulled it down, opened it. Papers, contracts, old photographs. And there, a receipt, faded but legible. County Library Archives Deposit Confirmation. Depositor Harold Briggs. Date, March 15th, 2002. Collection Briggs Restricted. Nora turned it over. Her breath stopped. Handwriting, her father's. Okay, kid, if you're reading this, you found it first. That means you're ready. Her eyes burned. The front door slammed open. What the hell are you doing here? Vivian stood in the hallway, keys in hand, face twisted with rage. You're going through his things? She stepped closer. Get out, now. Nora held up the receipt. You knew about this for 20 years. Vivian's eyes locked on the paper. Her face went pale. Then the mask returned. That's mine. She reached for it. Give it to me. Nora stepped back. Why didn't you send the notification? Because there's nothing there. Vivian's voice rose. Just old papers, worthless junk. Then why do you care if I see it? Silence. Vivian's jaw tightened. Get out of my house. Her voice was ice. Or I call the police. Nora walked past her, receipt in her pocket. At the door, she stopped. 20 years, Vivian. She didn't turn around. What are you so afraid of? The door slammed behind her. Chapter 4. 20 Years of Silence. The county records office opened at 8. Nora was there at 7:50. She'd barely slept. Her father's words echoed in her head. If you're reading this, you found it first. Found what? Why the secrecy? The clerk was young, barely 25. Name tag, Kevin. I need to see notification records, Nora said. For a library archive deposit. Kevin typed slowly. Name of the collection? Briggs. B-R-I-G-G-S. More typing. A printer hummed in the back. Here we go. He squinted at the screen. Briggs collection. Deposited March 2002. Restriction lifted upon death of depositor, pending notification from designated recipient. And the notifications? How many were sent? Kevin scrolled. Frowned. Scrolled again. That's weird. What? The log shows 0 notifications sent. He looked up. In 23 years, not a single one. Nora gripped the counter. That's not possible. The depositor died. The designated recipient should have filed within 60 days of death. Kevin nodded. It's a legal requirement. Part of the deposit agreement. 0 notifications. For 20 years. Her father died 3 weeks ago. The 60-day window was still open. But before that, wait. Nora leaned closer. The depositor just died. But the deposit was made 23 years ago. Why would notifications be required before now? Kevin checked the screen again. There's a clause here. Annual review notifications. The designated recipient was supposed to confirm the restriction status every year. He whistled low. Looks like. Yeah. 22 annual reviews. 0 filed. 22 years of silence. Deliberate silence. Vivian hadn't just failed to notify after Harold's death. She'd been blocking access for 2 decades. Nora drove to Malcolm Reed's office. Small building. Brass nameplate by the door. The secretary showed her in. Malcolm sat behind a mahogany desk. He didn't look surprised to see her. Ms. Briggs. He gestured to a chair. I expected you sooner. She sat. Pulled out the deposit receipt and the records printout. 22 years. She slid the papers across. Not a single notification. That's not negligence. That's obstruction. Malcolm studied the documents. His face revealed nothing. You've been busy. My father trusted you. Nora leaned forward. Why didn't you tell me about this? Because I couldn't. He set down the papers. Attorney-client privilege survives death. I can only reveal what the documents themselves reveal. Then, Reveal it. What's in that archive? Malcolm was quiet for a long moment. Let me be precise. He removed his glasses, cleaned them slowly. I don't know what's in the box. Your father never told me. But I know what the deposit agreement says. He put his glasses back on. And I know what happens when the designated recipient fails to comply. Nora's heart pounded. What happens? Malcolm opened a drawer, pulled out a thick folder, the original deposit agreement. Your father gave me a copy for safekeeping. He found a page, highlighted a paragraph. Read Section 7, Subsection C. Nora took the paper. The legal language was dense, but one sentence stood out. If the designated recipient fails to file required notifications, all rights and access privileges shall be suspended, and beneficial interest shall transfer to the secondary beneficiary. She looked up. Secondary beneficiary? Malcolm's eyes met hers. You. Her phone rang as she walked to her car. Unknown number, she answered. Stop. Vivian's voice, shaking with fury. Stop digging. You blocked me for 20 years. Nora unlocked her car. Why? Because there's nothing there. A desperate edge. Old papers. Sentimental garbage. It's not worth. Not worth what? Silence. Vivian. Nora opened the car door. What did my father put in that archive? Stay away from it. Vivian's voice dropped. Cold now. Controlled. I'm warning you, stay away from the library. Stay away from that box, or I will destroy you. The line went dead. Nora sat in her car, hands trembling. 20 years of blocking. Desperate threats. For sentimental garbage? No, there was something in that box. Something Vivian would do anything to hide. And Nora was going to find out what. Chapter 5. The clause that bites back. The courthouse was crowded. Monday morning, families fighting over money. Always money. Nora sat in the back of courtroom 3, Malcolm beside her. Emergency motion for access. He'd explained that morning. We argue that Vivian's failure to notify constitutes breach of fiduciary duty. It sounded simple. It wasn't. Judge Eunice Porter presided. 67. Silver hair pulled back tight. Reading glasses perched on her nose. Counsel for the petitioner. She didn't look up. Proceed. Malcolm stood, straightened his tie. Your Honor, we're requesting immediate access to the Briggs collection at the County Library Archives. The designated recipient, Vivian Kessler, has failed to file required notifications for 22 consecutive years. Vivian's lawyer jumped up. Young, expensive suit, too much gel in his hair. Objection, Your Honor. This is a family dispute, dressed up as a legal matter. My client is the grieving widow of Harold Briggs. The petitioner is an estranged daughter seeking what is legally hers. Malcolm's voice cut like ice. Under the deposit agreement, failure to notify triggers automatic transfer of beneficial interest. The young lawyer scoffed. That clause is unenforceable. Let me see the agreement. Judge Porter extended her hand. Malcolm handed over the document. The judge read. 1 page, 2 pages, 3. The courtroom was silent. Nora watched Vivian. She sat rigid in the front row, hands folded, face composed, but her knuckles were white. Judge Porter looked up. Section 7, Subsection C, she read aloud. If the designated recipient fails to file required annual notifications, all rights and access privileges shall be suspended, and beneficial interest shall automatically transfer to the secondary beneficiary. She lowered the paper. Mr. Harrison, she addressed Vivian's lawyer. Your client was designated recipient for 23 years. How many notifications did she file? Harrison hesitated. Your Honor, the notification requirement is a technicality. How many? Silence. 0, Your Honor. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Judge Porter removed her glasses. 0 notifications. In 23 years. She looked at Vivian. Miss Kessler, you had a legal obligation. You ignored it. Repeatedly. Vivian stood. Her voice was steady. Too steady. Your Honor, I was unaware of the requirement. My husband handled all the paperwork. You signed the deposit agreement. Malcolm held up another page. Your signature, dated March 15th, 2002. Directly below the notification clause. Vivian's composure cracked. Just for a second. That was 20 years ago. I don't remember You don't remember signing away your rights? Malcolm stepped closer. Or you hoped no one would check? Objection! Harrison was on his feet. Counsel is badgering. Sustained. Judge Porter raised a hand. But the point stands. Miss Kessler, you signed an agreement with clear terms. You violated those terms. For over 2 decades. She turned to Nora. Ms. Briggs, you are the secondary beneficiary? Nora stood. Her legs felt weak. Yes, Your Honor. Then, under the terms of this agreement, beneficial interest transfers to you. Judge Porter signed something on her desk. I'm granting immediate access to the Briggs collection. The archive restriction is hereby lifted. Vivian shot to her feet. You can't do this. The courtroom went silent. Judge Porter looked at her. Cold. I just did. Outside the courthouse. Stone steps. Autumn wind. Nora clutched the court order. Her hands shook. She'd won. She had access. Footsteps behind her. Sharp. Fast. She turned. Vivian stood 3 steps above, face twisted with rage. You think you've won? Her voice was a hiss. You think a piece of paper changes anything? It changes everything. Nora held up the order. I can see what's in that box now. There's nothing in that box. Vivian's control shattered. Nothing worth anything. Your father was a sentimental fool who... Then why did you hide it for 20 years? Vivian froze. The wind blew between them. Leaves scattered across the steps. I don't know what you think you'll find. Vivian's voice dropped. Dangerous. But when you open that box, you'll destroy more than me. She stepped closer. You'll destroy him. His memory. Everything he built. Her eyes narrowed. Is that what you want? To ruin your own father? Nora didn't flinch. I want the truth. Vivian stared at her. Something shifted in her face. Fear. Real fear. You have no idea what you're doing. She turned and walked away, heels clicking on stone. Nora watched her go. What was Vivian so afraid of? The court order felt heavy in her hand. Tomorrow, she would find out. Chapter 6. Follow the money. The next morning, county library, basement level. Tessa Marlowe was waiting. I got the court order notification. She held a ring of keys. Follow me. The elevator groaned downward. The air grew cold. Nora hugged her jacket tighter. Your father came here often. Tessa's voice echoed in the metal box. Before he got sick. Nora looked at her. You knew him? Everyone in archives knew Harold Briggs. The elevator stopped. Doors slid open. He donated half our local history collection. Fluorescent lights flickered on. Rows of shelves stretched into darkness. The smell of old paper filled the air. Tessa walked between the stacks. Her footsteps were soft, practiced. He asked me to protect this collection. Personally, she stopped at a shelf. Metal. Gray. Locked cage around it. I've kept that promise for 23 years. She unlocked the cage, pulled out a box, acid-free, white, clean. A label on the side, Briggs Collection, restricted until death. There you go. Tessa set it on a reading table. Take your time. I'll be at the desk if you need me. Her footsteps faded into silence. Nora stared at the box. 23 years, hidden in a basement. What had her father left her? She lifted the lid. Papers, stacks of them, organized with paper clips and rubber bands. The first stack, contracts, publishing agreements, Briggs Technical Manuals, LLC. Nora had almost forgotten. Her father wrote technical manuals, boring stuff. Furnace repair, HVAC systems, plumbing basics. She'd never thought much about it. The second stack. Royalty statements. Her eyes widened. $47,000. Annual. For 22 years. Over $1 million. From technical manuals nobody read. Her father had been wealthy. But the will said 0. The house went to Vivian. The accounts went to Vivian. Where did the royalty money go? She dug deeper. Bank statements. Highlighted lines. Recipient account, Kessler Trust. Recipient account, Kessler Trust. Recipient account, Kessler Trust. 22 years. Every payment. Vivian had been collecting her father's royalties the whole time. Nora called Malcolm from the library parking lot. The royalties. Her voice shook. Over $1 million. It all went to Vivian. Malcolm was quiet for a moment. That's not what the original trust documents say. What do you mean? Your father set up a trust for those royalties. The beneficiary was supposed to be... He paused. Hold on. Let me pull the file. Nora waited. Her breath fogged in the cold air. Here it is. Malcolm's voice tightened. Briggs Royalty Trust. Established 2001. Primary beneficiary, Nora Briggs. The world tilted. Me? You. Papers shuffled on his end. The trust was modified in 2003. Beneficiary changed to Vivian Kessler. But the signature, what about it? It doesn't match. Silence. Someone forged your father's signature. Malcolm's voice was ice and redirected over $1 million to Vivian. Nora's hands trembled. Can you prove it? With a forensic handwriting expert? Yes. A pause. But we'll need the original modification document, and that's in Vivian's possession. Nora thought of the box in her father's study, the paper she'd found. I might know where to look. That night, her father's house. Again. Vivian's car was in the driveway, lights on inside. Nora parked down the street, waited. At 11, the lights went off. At midnight, she moved. The back door was locked. But the window in the laundry room she remembered. The latch never caught right. She slid it open, climbed through. The house was dark, silent. She used her phone as a flashlight. Her father's study, the closet, the boxes. She searched. Tax files, old photographs, birthday cards. Then, a folder, thick, labeled trust documents. She opened it. The modification form, dated 2003, her father's signature at the bottom. She held it up to her phone light, compared it to the deposit receipt she still carried. The signatures were different. The loops were wrong. The angle was off. A forgery, clear as day. Footsteps above her. The ceiling creaked. Vivian was awake. Nora grabbed the folder, moved to the window. Who's there? A light switched on in the hallway. Nora didn't wait. She slipped through the laundry room, out the window, into the night. Behind her, Vivian's scream cut through the darkness. I know it's you! I know it's you, Nora! Nora ran. The folder clutched to her chest. Proof. Finally, proof. But Vivian would know, and Vivian would fight. This wasn't over. Not even close. Chapter 7. Allies and Enemies. The diner on Main Street, 7 in the morning. Nora sat in a corner booth, coffee untouched, folder on the table. The bell above the door jingled. A man walked in, Ruben Delgado, 50. Her father's oldest friend. Worked with him at the publishing company 30 years ago. He slid into the booth, ordered coffee, black. You look like hell. His voice was warm, familiar. Didn't sleep. Yeah. He glanced at the folder. I heard about the court thing. Vivian's been calling everyone in town. Says you're trying to steal her house. I'm not trying to steal anything. Nora pushed the folder toward him. Look at this. Ruben opened it. Read. His face changed. This is. He looked up. This is the trust modification. Look at the signature. He studied it, compared it to something on his phone. An old text, maybe, with her father's writing. That's not Harold's signature. I know. Ruben set down the paper, rubbed his face. Jesus, Nora. This is fraud. Over $1 million. Nora leaned forward. Someone forged his signature, redirected his royalties to Vivian for 20 years. And you think, Vivian. Who else? Ruben was quiet. He stared at his coffee. I need to tell you something. His voice dropped. About Vivian, and about what happened 20 years ago. Nora's stomach tightened. What happened? Your dad and I, we found something. Back in 2003. Discrepancies in the company accounts. Money moving to places it shouldn't. What kind of discrepancies? The kind that end marriages. Ruben met her eyes. We traced it back to Vivian. She'd been siphoning funds. Small amounts at first, then bigger. Did you confront her? Your dad did. Ruben looked away. They had a fight. A bad one. He was going to leave her. File charges. But he didn't. No. Ruben's jaw tightened. The next week, everything changed. The trust got modified. Your dad stopped talking about it. And then what? He stopped talking to you. The words hit like a punch. What? I'm just saying. Ruben held up his hand. 20 years ago, you two had that big fight. You stopped calling. He stopped reaching out. But I always wondered. Wondered what? If Vivian had something to do with it. Ruben's voice was barely a whisper. If she made him choose. The courthouse. That afternoon, Nora met Malcolm in the hallway outside Judge Porter's chambers. I have the original document. She handed him the folder. The forged signature. 20 years of redirected royalties. Malcolm examined the papers. His expression didn't change. This is good. Very good. He looked up. But Vivian's lawyer filed a counter motion this morning. What kind of motion? He's claiming you broke into her house, stole documents. Malcolm's voice was flat. He's asking for a restraining order and criminal charges. Nora felt the blood drain from her face. I didn't steal anything. Those papers belong to my father. That's what we'll argue. Malcolm tucked the folder under his arm, but it complicates things. The judge will want to see evidence of the fraud before she dismisses the break-in claim. So show her. I intend to. He started walking, but we need more. The forged signature alone isn't enough. We need witnesses, bank records, a paper trail. Nora followed him. What about Ruben? He knows about the discrepancies. He was there. Malcolm stopped. Ruben Delgado? He turned. He called me this morning. Said he can't testify. What? Why? He didn't say. Malcolm's eyes were cold, but I got the impression someone got to him. Vivian. It had to be Vivian. That night, Nora's apartment. The phone rang. Ruben's number. I'm sorry. His voice was hollow. I can't help you. Why? What happened? Vivian. He paused. She has things on me from the old days. Things I can't afford to come out. Ruben, she's a thief. A forger. She stole from my father. I know. His voice cracked. But I have a family now. Kids. A business. If she talks, I lose everything. Silence. I'm sorry, Nora. I really am. The line went dead. Nora sat in the dark. One by one, her allies were falling away. Vivian was fighting back. Hard. But Nora wasn't done yet. The archive box. There had to be more. Something she'd missed. She grabbed her keys. Time to go back to the library. Chapter 8. The box that disappeared. The library was closed. 9 at night. But Tessa had given Nora a key. Emergency access for the archives. Your father would have wanted you to have it, she'd said. The basement was dark, cold. The HVAC hummed overhead. Nora found the shelf. The locked cage. It was open. The lock hung loose, broken. She pulled back the cage door. Reached for the box. Gone. The shelf was empty. No. Her voice echoed. No, no, no. She searched the surrounding shelves. Nothing. Checked the floor. Empty. 23 years of waiting, court orders, legal battles, and someone had taken the box. Footsteps. Behind her. Nora spun around. Tessa stood in the darkness, flashlight in hand. I got the alarm notification. Her voice was tight. Someone broke in 2 hours ago. The box is gone. I know. Tessa stepped closer, but they didn't get everything. She reached into her cardigan, pulled out a small envelope. Your father gave me this, separately. Said to hold it until someone came for the collection. She held it out. I think he meant you. Nora took the envelope, hands shaking. Inside a USB drive and a note. If you're holding this, the box is compromised. This is the backup. Everything is here. Dad. Nora stared at the drive. Her father had planned for this. He'd known someone would try to destroy the evidence. There's something else. Tessa's voice dropped. The security footage. It caught the intruder. She led Nora to a small office. Computer monitors. Recording equipment. Tessa typed. Pulled up the footage. Black and white. Grainy, but clear enough. A figure in a dark coat. Gloves. Moving through the stacks. The figure reached the cage. Cut the lock. Grabbed the box. Then turned toward the camera. The face was covered, but the body shape. The way she moved. Nora knew. That's Vivian. Tessa nodded. I've already sent a copy to the police. She looked at Nora. And to your lawyer. The next morning, Malcolm's office. The USB drive sat on his desk, connected to a laptop. Bank records, trust documents, correspondence. Malcolm scrolled through the files. Your father documented everything. Everything? The fraud, the forged signature, Vivian's offshore accounts. He stopped. And this, he turned the laptop toward Nora. An audio file, dated 2002. What is that? I don't know. Malcolm clicked play. Her father's voice filled the room. I'm recording this in case something happens. My name is Harold Briggs. I've discovered that my wife, Vivian Kessler, has been systematically stealing from my accounts. I've documented everything. Nora's throat tightened. I don't know how long I have. My health isn't great, but I need to make sure someone knows the truth. A pause, a cough. Nora, if you're hearing this, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the silence. I'm sorry for the distance. Vivian, she threatened to destroy you if I tried to contact you. Said she'd make your life hell. I thought cutting you off was the only way to protect you. Tears blurred Nora's vision, but I never forgot you. I never stopped loving you. Everything in this archive, it's for you. It was always for you. Another pause. The clause in the deposit agreement. The transfer provision. I designed it to trigger if Vivian tried to block you. She thought she was smart, but I was smarter. Her father's voice hardened. If you're hearing this, it means she tried to cheat you, and it means she lost. The recording ended. Silence. Malcolm handed Nora a tissue. He planned this for 20 years. His voice was soft, respectful. Every step, every contingency. He knew Vivian would try to stop you, and he made sure she couldn't. Nora wiped her eyes. He didn't abandon me. No. Malcolm shook his head. He protected you the only way he could. That night, a knock on Nora's door. She opened it. Vivian stood in the hallway. No makeup. Hair disheveled, eyes red. I know you have the drive. Her voice was ragged. I know what's on it. Nora didn't move. Then you know it's over. It doesn't have to be. Vivian stepped forward. We can make a deal. You get the royalties, the trust, everything. Just destroy the recording. Why? Because I'm an old woman. Vivian's voice cracked. Because I made mistakes. Because I don't want to die in prison. Nora looked at her. This woman, who had stolen from her father, who had forged his signature, who had kept them apart for 20 years, now begging. You should have thought about that before. Nora stepped back. Before you stole his money, before you forged his name, before you broke into that library. Vivian's face twisted. You self-righteous little. Good night, Vivian. Nora closed the door. Through the wood, she heard Vivian's voice, muffled, desperate. This isn't over. You hear me? This isn't over. Nora locked the deadbolt. It was almost over. One more day. Chapter 9. The truth comes out. Courtroom 3. Final hearing. Standing room only. Word had spread. The Briggs case. The widow. The secret archive. Half the town showed up to watch. Nora sat at the plaintiff's table, Malcolm beside her. The USB drive between them. Vivian sat across the aisle. New lawyer. Older. More expensive. Dark suit. Silver tie. Judge Porter entered. The room stood. Then sat. This court is now in session. She looked at both tables. I've reviewed the submitted evidence, including security footage from the county library showing the defendant removing archived materials. Vivian's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client denies. Sit down, Mr. Crawford. Judge Porter's voice was ice. I've seen the footage. I've seen the timestamp. Your client broke into a public archive and stole evidence relevant to this case. Crawford sat. However, the judge turned to Malcolm. The plaintiff claims the stolen materials were backed up on a USB drive. I need to verify that evidence before proceeding. Malcolm stood. Your Honor, we have audio recordings, bank records, and trust documents spanning 22 years, all of which prove systematic fraud by the defendant. Play the recording. Malcolm connected the USB to the courtroom system. Her father's voice filled the room. I'm recording this in case something happens. Nora watched Vivian's face. At first, defiance, chin high, eyes hard. Then, as Harold's voice continued, something cracked. Vivian, she threatened to destroy you if I tried to contact you. Vivian's hand trembled. If you're hearing this, it means she tried to cheat you, and it means she lost. The recording ended. Silence. Judge Porter removed her glasses. Miss Kessler. Vivian didn't respond. Miss Kessler. Slowly, Vivian looked up. Do you have anything to say? Crawford leaned toward his client, whispered something. Vivian pushed him away. He was a fool. Her voice was hoarse, bitter. 20 years I kept that house running. 20 years I managed his money, his career, his life. Miss Kessler, Crawford tried to intervene. And what did I get? Vivian stood. A man who loved his dead first wife more than me. A man who hid money in library basements. A man who... That's enough. Judge Porter's voice cut like a blade. Sit down. Vivian didn't sit. She abandoned him. She pointed at Nora. 20 years. Not a phone call. Not a visit. And she gets everything? I said sit down. Vivian's chest heaved. Her eyes were wild. I earned that money. I earned that house. Bailiff. Two officers approached. Vivian backed away. Her composure shattered completely. You can't do this. That money is mine. I kept him alive for 20 years. I deserve. They took her arms, guided her to a chair. She collapsed into it, shaking. The courtroom was silent. Judge Porter looked at Nora. Ms. Briggs, do you wish to press criminal charges? Nora looked at Vivian. This woman, who had stolen everything, who had kept her from her father, who had lied and forged and destroyed, now broken in front of the whole town. Your Honor, Nora's voice was steady. I want what's legally mine. The royalties, the trust, my father's legacy. And the criminal matter? Nora paused. 20 years of anger, 20 years of loss, but also her father's voice. His plan, his protection. He hadn't wanted revenge. He'd wanted justice and truth. I want her to pay back what she stole. Nora met Vivian's eyes. Every penny, with interest. And I want a public accounting of every fraudulent transaction. Is that all? Nora thought about it. No. She looked at the judge. I want her to admit it. In writing, for the record, what she did, why she did it. All of it. Judge Porter nodded slowly. And in exchange, I won't press for prison time. Nora's voice was firm, but she loses everything. The house, the accounts, the trust. It all goes back to my father's estate, where it belongs. Vivian's head snapped up. No, that house is mine. I won't. You'll accept these terms. Crawford grabbed her arm. Or you'll face 20 years for fraud, forgery, and obstruction. Your choice. Vivian stared at him, then at Nora, then at the judge. The fight drained out of her. Fine. Her voice was barely a whisper. Fine. Judge Porter wrote something on her pad. So ordered. Miss Kessler will provide a full written confession within 30 days. All assets will be returned to the Briggs estate. Failure to comply will result in immediate criminal prosecution. She looked at Nora. Ms. Briggs, your father would be proud. Nora's eyes burned. Thank you, Your Honor. The gavel came down. It was over. Chapter 10. What he left behind. 3 months later, spring. The house on Maple Street had a new owner, a young family, 2 kids, a dog. Nora watched from her car as they moved in. Boxes, furniture, laughter. Her father's house. Not hers anymore. She didn't mind. The diner on Main Street, same corner booth. Reuben sat across from her, coffee between them. I heard you sold the house. His voice was quiet. Careful. It was never mine. Nora stirred her coffee. Just bricks and memories. And Vivian? She moved to a rental outside town. Nora shrugged. She's still writing that confession. Malcolm says it's almost done. Reuben nodded, looked down. I'm sorry. He met her eyes. For not testifying. For being a coward. You had your reasons. They weren't good enough. He reached across the table, took her hand. Your dad would have been ashamed of me. Nora squeezed back. He would have understood. She smiled. Small but real. He knew how people work. That's why he built all those safeguards. He didn't expect anyone to be brave. He just planned around it. Reuben laughed. Watery. That sounds like Harold. The county library. Basement level. Tessa met her at the elevator. It's all set up. She led Nora through the stacks. Your father's collection. Re-archived. Properly this time. A new shelf. A new cage. A new box. But this time, the label was different. Harold Briggs Memorial Collection, open access. I thought it should be available. Nora touched the box. His research, his work, for anyone who wants to learn. It's a good thing. Tessa's voice was soft. He would have liked that. Nora opened the box. Inside the technical manuals, the royalty records, the photographs, and at the bottom, a letter, sealed. Her name on the envelope. She hadn't seen this before. That was in the original deposit. Tessa nodded at the letter. Marked for you. Only you. Nora lifted, turned it over. Her father's handwriting. For Nora. When you're ready, she opened it. Nora, if you're reading this, you won. I knew you would. I want you to understand something. The money was never the point. The house was never the point. Even proving Vivian wrong, that was never the point. The point was this. I needed you to know I never forgot you. 20 years is a long time. I made mistakes. I let fear make my choices. I thought distance was protection. I was wrong. But I could still do one thing. I could leave you the truth, hidden, protected, waiting for you to find it. The clause in the deposit agreement, I designed it to trigger if anyone tried to block you. I knew Vivian would try, and I knew you were smart enough to figure it out. You always were, kid, even when you didn't believe it. Here's what I want you to do with the money, Liv. That's all. Just live your life. Buy a house, or don't. Travel or stay. Fall in love, or don't. But if you want to do something for me, really, for me, take some of it and help someone else. A scholarship, a donation, something that outlasts both of us. I believe in you, Nora. I always did. Love, Dad, P.S. I'm sorry I never said this in person. I was a coward too. I guess it runs in the family. P.S. Okay, kid, you got this. Nora folded the letter, pressed it to her chest. Tears streamed down her face. But for the first time in 20 years, they weren't tears of anger. 6 months later, the Harold Briggs Technical Scholarship. First recipient, a 19-year-old from the community college, studying HVAC repair. He wants to help people stay warm. Nora told Malcolm at the ceremony, just like my dad's manuals did. Malcolm almost smiled. Your father would approve. The courthouse steps. A sunny afternoon. Nora sat alone, watching the town go by. A woman approached. Stopped. Vivian. Thinner now. Older. Gray roots showing. I finished the confession. Her voice was flat. Empty. Signed it this morning. Nora looked at her. Good. Silence. I hate you. Vivian's voice cracked. I hate what you took from me. I didn't take anything. Nora stood. I just stopped you from keeping what was never yours. Vivian stared at her. Something flickered in her eyes. Not anger, something else. Then she turned and walked away. Nora watched her go. No triumph, no satisfaction, just peace. That night, Nora's new apartment. Small, clean, hers. She sat by the window, her father's letter in her lap. Outside, the sun was setting. Orange and gold. She thought about the past 3 months, the legal battles, the revelations, the pain, and she thought about what came next. The scholarship would continue. Every year, a new student, a new chance. Her father's legacy. Not money, not property, just help. Passed forward. Nora smiled. Okay, Dad, she whispered to the empty room. Okay. She folded the letter, placed it in a box, her own box now. Then she stood, stretched, looked at the sunset. Tomorrow, she would start her new job. Editor at the local paper. Not much, but enough. Tomorrow, she would call Ruben. Maybe dinner, maybe not. Tomorrow, she would live. But tonight, she just breathed. In and out, slow and steady. 20 years of silence, finally broken, and in its place, something new.